Not everyone who became a farmer was necessarily going to be good at it, and even if you had a green thumb and a good sense for business, crops failed and the climate could sometimes be unpredictable. This could lead to food and income insecurity and could send a household to ruin, and if this was the case, what do you eat? Welcome to the Backwoods Kitchen. I'm your host, Holly Benison, and on today's episode, I'll be preparing a low-cost dish for times of need, farmer's rice.
These are homely dishes, but they are intended for homely people, who have not the materials for luxuries at their command, but who may be glad to learn how to vary the method of dressing such simple food as they can obtain, so as to render it palatable and pleasant. Trail was writing from personal experience regarding many of her tips on good economy and housekeeping. She had always been a lifelong writer, but used it as a creative outlet and secondary source of income while living in Canada. Settling here wasn't easy for the Trails, and they frequently experienced hardship: financial, health, both physical and mental, and agrarian. We have Trail's writings on this, but her experiences weren't singular. So when times are tough and the pantry might not be as stocked as one would like, farmer's rice might be on the menu. The technique used in this recipe creates mock rice made from flour and milk. But why mock rice and not real rice? It boils down to affordability and availability. General stores in Upper Canada had begun selling rice as early as 1808, with this foodway increasing in popularity as the 19th century marched on and Canada became increasingly involved in global trade. White rice was also a fairly affordable item, which puts into perspective the necessity of a survival food like this recipe. Furthermore, wild rice was also typically available in rural communities, mostly coming from trade. The caveat here, however, is that by the 1850s in the Peterborough-Nogajeewanong area, the availability of compatible waterways for cultivating wild rice were slowly disappearing due to settler-built infrastructure on waterway systems that didn't prioritize bodies of water that could be home to wild rice beds. Even if a settler could reasonably afford to trade or purchase wild rice, Indigenous nations still had to feed themselves, with increasing scarcity of this traditional foodway becoming a reality. Furthermore, sustainable practices of wild rice harvesting involved about half of the grains falling back into the water, to feed local wildlife as well as to reseed the bed, a practice thought of as wasteful and lazy by some settler writers, but integral to sustainable agriculture and land care as practiced by many Indigenous nations. Truthfully, I'm not expecting this to be a very tasty dish, but for the sake of the project, a taste test.
So I've got the farmer's rice, and I won't lie, I'm a bit nervous to try it, but here we go. This is definitely one of the stranger ones you'll be seeing on the show. It's so chewy. I think if I had a choice, I wouldn't make this, but I understand that it is survival food, and for that, I respect it. It doesn't taste as bad as I thought it would. The sugar and the cinnamon does add a lot. She also gives suggestions for a savory version too. Try it if you're bold. Try it if you would like a challenge, but yeah, this is an interesting one. Definitely an interesting one. Anyway, until next time.